That's true. Well, week one in the books. Biggest takeaways from the first 4 days.
I think our summer really helped us, from a conditioning standpoint. Don't have a bunch of guys, hurt, cramping, or anything like that. So we've done a really good job with our summer. The weather's been um, to my liking. I'm sure the players would have a different opinion, but that's the first thing. The second thing I would probably say is the access that we've been able to have in the summer. You talk about installing a new offense, a lot of new players on defense, the ability to meet, do some walkthroughs this summer. The carryover is there. So when you start with install one, you're really not install one, if that makes sense. You're able to add a little bit more. You're able to put some variations to the base stuff, which gives you a chance to see retention. Who can retain the information from the summer. That's been really good. Obviously, defensively, some of the D linemen, that we hadn't seen really move around in football before, have done a really good job. I think offensively, it's always that question of, putting in a new offense, how long will it take to click? We're probably a lot farther ahead than I anticipated. We still got a lot of work to do. We haven't gotten into many situations. We've been kind of just, normal down base football. So, really pleased with the first week. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So it's a really good start. Really good.
It seemed spirited out there, especially in some of the live periods. Is that obviously a good sign at the end of week one that there's some competition there between offense and defense?
Yeah, we've attacked some things culturally. You got to have fun playing this game. You put way too much time in. I spent some time with Shaka Smart this summer, and one of his big things about his culture is just how they enjoy each other, have fun playing together. We really dove into some culture things this summer that I think are really going to make a difference. At the end of the day, don't get me wrong, you got to execute, you got to stay healthy, you got to score, you can't turn the ball over. Everybody knows that, but when you're playing for each other and not with each other, a lot of those times when you hit adversity, those things, you can cure some of those things. So seeing that the first week, it's good because they've retained it. I think this team's a lot tighter than we've been in the past. So that's good. Now the ability to sustain that. You it's like your brother. You love him, and then when he comes in your room and takes your video game, you want to fight him. So, but it's a good start. It's a good start. Don't get me wrong. We got a long way to go. I've kind of taken a step back from what we've done in the past and been so worried about pushing on, and more just take care of today. We've always been a live in the moment, but even to the point with the players, we've been hey, kind of study ahead, get ready for install two, review tonight. Review tonight. Come into meetings. Let's get ready for tomorrow.
Do you see a change in the players being receptive to that kind of approach too?
Yeah, really, a lot of times coaches, because we've done this for so long, we take an approach of what we went through or what we have known to be successful over the years. I've been blessed enough to do this job for 20 plus years. So a lot of the things that you do have been, what you did 15, 20 years ago. The one thing you got to realize, these kids don't live in that world anymore. It's a different world for them. There's no 3-a-days. There's no 2-a-days. There was no NIL when I played. There was no transfer portal. There were no YouTubers. So they live in a different world. So you got to be able to adapt. Coach Saban used to always say it. You got to adapt or die, and that's not just from the X's and O's. That's not just from going from, what we ran last year to air raid or anything like that. That's culturally. That's schedule wise. That's the way you coach the player, the way you encourage the players, the way you motivate the players. I'm giving out lollipops for interceptions. 2 years ago, I was like, that's what you're supposed to do. But like they're fighting for lollipops. So it's just a different world. It's a funner group. I'm having more fun, being their coach rather than kind of trying to drive them a certain way. I'm letting them drive the direction of where they want the program to go. And for the first week, it's a good spot. Well, again, first week, 3 days in. You ask me in 2 weeks, I may be throwing my hat again. But for the start, it's been good.
Anybody in particular stand out to you performance wise?
It's really good because it's not one person. There's flashes. You'll have a guy who has 2 or 3 good racks in a row, or 2 or 3 good periods in a row. It's back and forth, offense, defense. A lot of the younger guys who've been in the program for a while are starting to do some consistent things. A lot of the new guys that we anticipate during the wide receiver group have shown some flashes. We still got a ways to go. I don't get too excited. The first day you're in, shorts and t-shirts. Second day, you're kind of still in shorts and t-shirts. We put on pads for the first time yesterday. Today was a good barometer because it's the second day in pads. I thought our physicality was a lot better today. We got to watch the film to see. Everybody could be going the wrong way and everybody get excited because they made a big hit, but if the ball would have been the other way, it may have been a 60-yard touchdown. So we'll watch the film. Overall, I try to evaluate the feel of practice. It was clean. Wasn't a lot of balls on grounds. Guys getting cut loose up front. Energetic from start to finish. Typically in the past we've been a group where we start really fast or start really energetic and then kind of drain. Even our special teams periods are energetic. So that's a good start. And that's good things that we can go back and point out to them, for next week. So a good start. Got a long way to go.
Obviously, the team got to hear from Brad. He talked some about the community. They get to interact with some of the community tonight for Fan Day. Just how good of an experience is that for guys who maybe haven't gone through it before and guys that have done it forever, like look.
Yeah. First of all, Brad is phenomenal, right? I've been to a lot of universities and been involved with a lot of presidents. I told the team in front of him, he's the first president that I've been able to have a relationship with outside of the job, and that matters. The linear connection between myself, Brad, Christian, that makes a lot of difference. For him to be of and a part of this community, but still be the leader of this university, he has a different perspective. For him to share that with our guys, we talked last night a little bit about the energy in the 75 game. That energy is because of this community. A lot of places I've been, there's rivalries and there's passionate fans, but I've never been a place where the community and the university were so intertwined. Our tragedy is also our triumph. And Brad explained that today, probably way better than I could have because of his connection. But today, to get to spend time with the fans, we expect a big crowd, a lot of new faces. This will be the first time that they really get to feel this community from a fan standpoint. So I think it'll help them understand when we start talking about the importance of the 75 game, the importance of what we do on Saturdays and how it affects the community, the importance of when they leave here, what this community will give back to them. So today will be a good day. I really appreciate Brad taking the time. I know he's got 7,000 other things to do than talk to the football team, but he wanted to do it. His message resounded with a lot of the guys there, old and new. So it was really good.
Quarterbacks, you saw some highs and lows out there today. Just talk about them.
Yeah, I think what we're starting to see is who can do what and who do it really well. Coach Daggy's taking a really good approach of calling plays and letting the quarterbacks rep the plays that they do well in. We're not asking, Cole to do something he can't do. We're not asking Braylon to do something he can't do, which is allowing them to get consistency. Sometimes you go through the first 2 weeks and you just run the system. Well, every time you do something that Cole is not a fan of or, not really talented for, if that makes sense, if you're going to do some read zone stuff, but that's not his game. Every rep you take at that with him is a wasted rep for him. So when you script the plays that he's going to be running, so he gets multiple reps. The beauty of the air raid, there's not a lot of plays. It's all about timing, consistency, and repetition. So Coach Daggy's done a really good job of being very intentional about what reps each guy's get. Now, don't get me wrong; they all know the general playbook. But if Cole's playing, we're going to be a different offense than if Brady's playing. So being able to have that intentional focus, even in practice, I think helps because we're not wasting reps by just saying, hey, it's install one and we got to run this play and it's Cole's rack. So it's been really good. I think both of them have done a really good job at what they do well. And that's how we're evaluating. We're not really evaluating, who runs the offense the best. We're evaluating who runs their version of the offense the best. And then typically we will make a decision that's the offense will be. But we're allowing them to get reps at what they do well, which is allowing us to see some consistency.
The offensive line, obviously a retool position for you guys. Logan's there. You know what you're going to get from him for the most part. Just talk about the rest of those guys.
Yeah, we've kind of taken this first week was kind of the musical chairs to see, who could play where and who could do what. Next week we'll start to settle into, hey, these two guys are tackles, these two guys are guards, and so on. Obviously, I think we've done a really good job. Jeremy Jones has done some good things. He's a guy we got a lot of hope for that he can come in, step in, and play really good. Ozzie obviously has done a really good job. Jalen Slappy coming back, has done a really good job. He played a good bit of the back end of the year. His growth has been great. Eric Meeks, Elijah Ellis, Ramsey. Really, we got some competition. I won't say we're 4 and 5 deep, but we got some guys in that second unit that are making a big push. What we'll do next week is kind of let them all sit in their chairs and find out, okay, who can be consistent. Because some of it's a little bit, hey, your tackle 2 plays, your guard 2 plays. Well, you look really, really good at tackle, but you're maybe not so good at guard. Well, was it because you just haven't had enough reps yet? But this will allow us, the reality of it is we don't have 15 linemen that can play. We're going to have to find a way to get 8 to 9 guys that can, take us down the stretch, which means, hey, you may be the backup tackle, but in a situation you may have to go in as the backup guard or whatever it may be. Hopefully we can stay healthy. That's the key. If not, you and Luke are up. We'll tell you go right, go left, and they can boo you guys like they do our guys when they don't do what they're supposed to do. But no, I think where we are right now, we've got a good gauge this week, who can be flexible. Next week, we'll sit them in their seats a little bit and try to get some consistency. And in the third week, we'll kind of start to get some continuity with, okay, you're the ones, you're the twos, who you're playing with your right to your left. So taking that approach, I think, will give us a little bit more confidence in what's going to happen in the back end of the season or if someone goes down during the season. If that makes sense.
The running backs, obviously, with Rasheen being gone, and you don't really have what you'd say bell cow back right now. Just talk about those guys and collectively as a unit.
Yeah, I've been blessed enough to be around some generational backs, and I think the first thing as a coach that you got to do is realize you had a generational back. You cannot evaluate anybody else. No one evaluates anybody like Bo Jackson. He's Bo Jackson. And there's some other great backs, but that's Bo Jackson. Rasheen Ali was our version of Bo Jackson, respectively, if that makes sense. So now we're evaluating what can these guys do and what we do. And I think all 3 of the guys have done a really good job. Jordan Houston's done a really good job catching the ball out of the backfield. He's a tough, hard-nosed runner. AJ Turner has probably got the most juice in the group. He's a little bit more lean, linear guy. And then Ethan Payne gives you the consistency. I think a lot of times what we came from, we were a run-first offense. In the air raid, it's not run first or pass first, it's efficiency first, which means we may play all 3 of them, and one may have 100 yards rushing, the other may have 100 yards receiving. But that would have been the 200 yards rushing that Rasheen would have got last year, if that makes sense. So been really impressed with them. I think they all catch the ball in the backfield really well. Today was the first day that we did some real live pass pros, step up in there and see who would get their nose in the mix. They all did a really good job of that. The biggest thing is going to be the consistency over time, right? I think we can evaluate their running ability once we get the O-line kind of settled in, and that's kind of how we've taken that approach. Once we get some guys and we know, hey, this side is a good double team side, this side's a good zone side, who plays well, who pass pros well, that will help us determine which back will hit it up in there, which back can get to the edge, which back can catch the ball in the backfield.